One of the things is to focus on the pleasure of your partner. We men, we get to the dessert level or we get to the entree level, we're usually pretty satisfied. For most guys, going In-N-Out Burger or Burgerville, that's fine. We don't even need appetizers. We're just like, oh, go right to the main course.
Aspire to make a difference.
In this episode, we're going to go through how to please your partner. This is actually good for both men and women, but especially men. Biggest complaint I get from most women I've talked to, whether women that I've dated or just women in general, is that men do not know how to please their partners. They like to skip a lot of steps. They think that porn is the way to go, and all women want that. The vast majority of women I've run across in my experience, both married women and non-married women, complain that men are too much into porn and that's what they think is right. The analogy I like to use is a gourmet formal meal or dinner versus going out for fast food. Fast food is good. Everything goes fine. You enjoy it. And for a man, most men are great with fast food, but especially intimacy, especially on the first time or first times, or what I recommend highly for most men, focus on it being a formal gourmet meal the vast majority of the time, especially at the beginning when you're first getting to know the person, because you will put yourself head and shoulders above almost all men. And even, God forbid, if you're in a situation where you're not that well endowed or you're not confident in other aspects of the bedroom, you can compensate for a lot of that by taking your time, by taking things slow in the bedroom, going through, as I said, a formal dinner. So you're going to have drinks. The drinks are the kissing and making out on the couch and heavy petting before you get into anything. And then the appetizers, focus on each individual appetizer. Learn techniques for the appetizers if you're not confident in it. If you feel like girlfriends you've had in the past have said, oh, you're really good at this, then maybe you don't need to do that. But if you're going, gosh, I don't even know where to start. I have not been with a woman in a long time. You don't know where to start. There's a lot of valuable information on YouTube and other sites, which I'll include in the description, for various different, what I was calling appetizers. There's calamari and there's chips and salsa and queso and all these kind of things. And it could be analogous to using your fingers, using your tongue, using all kinds of different things. There's a variety of erogenous zones on a woman, like the ear. There's a woman on YouTube that I learned about 5 or 6 erogenous zones, and I was like, skeptical, does this work? It does. I've tried it with more than one partner, and it does. There's the ear, there's hair, neck for a lot of women. The other one is behind the knee. Behind the knee is an erogenous zone that most men don't know. You add that in. In fact, my therapist actually was surprised at that. And he just told me the other day, he's like, I tried that with my wife. And she was like, where'd you learn that? So you can always throw in a new appetizer, as the case may be. But definitely focus on taking your time. Another one I've learned, a technique, which I also include in here, is a thing called an orgasmic massage. Orgasmic massage is almost like turning your finger into a vibrator. It basically, you become like a human vibrator, and you can do it on both the breasts or clitoris or even inside. And there's also various techniques of how to appropriately use your fingers, and also there's techniques on how to use your tongue and things like that. For the ladies on there, a lot of men just want to go right for the heart of it, but there also are a lot of men that enjoy the foreplay and appetizers as well. In fact, a large percentage of men, they won't even consider it a good sexual experience if they haven't got a blowjob. Blowjobs are very important to some men, and it's like a critical, red flag, a potential red flag if that doesn't happen. Again, I think it's very important to communicate with your partner all the way along. And especially if it's like the first experience, talk about it. There's nothing wrong with talking about it, and nothing wrong with, what position do they like? What things do they like? I've run across women that did not want a guy to, use their tongue. They didn't like that at all. It was not their thing. I've also run into ones that don't like their fingers. They have different boundaries, things that they're interested in, that feels good to them and not. One of the things is to focus on the pleasure of your partner. We men, we get to the dessert level or we get to the entree level, we're usually pretty satisfied. For most guys, going in and out burger or Burgerville, that's fine. We don't even need appetizers. We're just like, oh, right to the main course. But women aren't like that. Women, their sexual flow, their orgasms are completely different than men's. I mean, theirs is much more like a series of hills, and it kind of progresses as they get more and more excited and more turned on. It takes time and effort to learn skills for that. And again, I would highly recommend, if you're getting to the point where you're starting to push things to the next level, learn some of these techniques, learn some things that vibe with you, that you are comfortable with. And it'll go a long way. I mean, like, even if you have issues, like let's say you have an ED issue as a man, or you have premature ejaculation, any of these bad things, if you do great with the foreplay and you know techniques, it will be an overall good experience for your partner. Even if you're like, God, I feel so inadequate. If she had a great time, she's going to want to see you again, even if there were challenges on the other end. Most women are very unsatisfied with their sexual experience with men, especially a new guy. And if you've done really well with the foreplay and they've had orgasms, most women are like, it's fine, if there was problems on the other. And they'll be more likely to work with you on it. If you do have those kind of problems, the women may try, let's try a different position, things like that. If they're enjoying themselves, that'll be something that they may be much more inclined to chill out about. This is not porn. Guys, get it out of your head. Porn is not analogous, is not something that women enjoy. Sex for men, porn is a good representation of it. But yeah, it is not porn. Just slamming your sausage in is not usually going to get a woman. And actually a good chunk of women that will not have orgasms from penetration at all. And I've run across many that would not have it. Very rarely do you run across a woman there's some women that can't have an orgasm, and that you run across that. But for women to have an orgasm that do have a foreplay is usually where they will experience it. One critical thing to keep in mind, though, is consent at every single level, every single spot. And even if you've gotten, like, let's say you've met the person, you got intimate, the woman spent the night on Tuesday and you're getting together Friday. Just because you guys slept together on Tuesday does not mean she's going to be open having sex with you on Friday. Don't push it. Don't get mad about it. You can definitely talk about it, find out what the deal is, but don't get all pissy about it. That's not a very good situation there with that. So definitely, get consent at each level, be safe with your partner. One thing I do that's maybe a little different is, if it's a new person, new partner, I always have the woman get on top first. And usually I basically do appetizers until she's to the point where she wants to. I don't push it. You get to the point where they've had a number of orgasms and they're basically ready for the main course. And they articulate that. You can even say, hey, you're ready. And a lot of times they will bring it up themselves because they're like, okay, I'm ready for the next level. And again, I like the idea of having the woman on top, because at any time she can still withdraw consent. And also, do not get into stuff with, the person intoxicated. If the woman's intoxicated, call the game. If she's starting to fall down drunk and stuff, and even if you have had sex with that person in the past, if she's inebriated, no, let her sleep on your couch or sleep on your bed, and don't move forward on this stuff. It's one thing if you've been in a relationship for a long time, that may be a different story. But if this person is, even if you've had sex with them once or twice before, no, if they're passed out drunk, you leave them alone. Don't want to get yourself in trouble, and it's not worth it. And it's not worth it to throw away what could be a potentially great relationship for just, 5 minutes of stupidness. Thank you for watching this video on how to please your partner. Hopefully you got some good information on it. In the description, we've got some links to some sites from various videos that most of which actually I used, that have helped me in terms of learning different types of appetizers when it comes to pleasing your partner. Please like and share this video with anyone who may benefit from its content. It's word of mouth from people like you who will help this channel to grow.